EnergyLink published its first price path in July 1997 and has issued an update every quarter since. That's in excess of 100 price paths. The price paths are issued in the middle of the last months of each quarter, so the January price path for the following year is issued mid-December. The April price path is issued mid-March, and so on. Every year in March, the starting month of the price path moves forward to the following April, and the price path extends from there for 15 years. However, the price path also includes an extended base case which covers a total of 25 years. The price path is a forecast of nodal electricity spot prices. It is not a forecast of futures prices on the ASX or contract prices for industry and commerce, nor is it a forecast of residential prices. We can derive these other prices, however, from the spot price forecasts because in New Zealand the spot market underlies everything else. These derivations are performed as engagements separate to the price path as requested by clients. Can we actually predict the future spot price of electricity? Well, yes, in a sense, but there are limitations. In New Zealand, where more than half of all electricity generated comes from hydroelectric power stations, the rises and falls in the inflows into the hydro lakes produces a volatility of the order of 25 to 30% of the monthly price on average. So when we issue a price path, we're actually issuing a realistic distribution of how spot prices might evolve over the forecast horizon. We do this using 16 scenarios, which we designed to get the realistic spread. The scenarios are made up of components including the price of natural gas for thermal generation, the price of carbon in the New Zealand Emissions Trading Scheme, which impacts the cost of fuel for thermal generation, the cost of capital for new generation, which we call build pressure, where higher build pressure occurs when the cost of capital is lower, and vice versa. The status of the Tiwai Point aluminium smelter, New Zealand's largest load, making up about 12% of all demand. It is currently in negotiations concerning power contracts to keep it operating after 2024, so it may stay beyond 2024 if successful in these negotiations, or it may close in 2025 if not. The retirement of major slow start thermal generation, and forecast demand, for which we have 5 scenarios. Each scenario has its own build schedule, which is the list of new generation that our models predict will be built in each scenario. When each scenario is run, we always run with historical inflow data that we have for the last 90 plus years, thus capturing the impact of variable inflows. That means we actually run over 1,400 separate 15-year forecasts to produce a price path. Each of the 16 scenarios is given a weighting based on our experience and knowledge of the market, and then the headline price path is the weighted average of the 1,400 plus scenarios. It is explicit in the disclaimer at the start of this video, but worth repeating. We cannot model all possible scenarios covering the next 15 to 25 years. That is partly because there are effectively an infinite number of possibilities, some of which we cannot anticipate, and so-called black swan events can occur, and partly because there are some uncertainties that we can imagine, but it's very difficult to anticipate their nature and their probability. A prime example is the possibility of major government intervention in the market. So a key assumption in the price path is the structure of the electricity market remains more or less the same as it is today over the forecast horizon. The proprietary eMarket model dispatches existing and new generation in accordance with the market dispatch and spot pricing rules at 220 nodes on the New Zealand grid. The scenarios are run at day-night resolution, and we can run down to hourly resolution on request. We encourage all price path subscribers to make use of the scenarios to help understand the range of possibilities and the risks associated with planning an electricity market strategy, be it building generation, hedging, budgeting, or whatever. eMarket produces large amounts of data, including the output and revenue of all generators, power flows on the grid, storage in the hydro lakes, and so on. Fuel consumption and emissions are easily calculated from these outputs. Key data is extracted and provided with the price path as a matter of course, and we extract additional data on request. We also run custom scenarios for clients under separate engagement. Looking at just one of the 16 scenarios and adding in all 90 plus historical inflow sequences modelled with this scenario adds volatility to the forecasts, which matches, as close as we can, the variability in prices in the real market due to inflows. The forecasts also use synthetic wind speed and solar irradiance sequences starting from 1980 for all wind farms and solar farms, either existing already or forecast to be built in the scenario. The chart shows that volatility in monthly prices increases over time, particularly as large thermal plants are retired and replaced by new generation. Price path is created using assumptions about inflation as it applies to the electricity sector and therefore produces nominal prices. This chart shows annual average prices from the weighted average price path at just one node in Auckland, but the same data is available at all 220 nodes modelled. The weighted average percentile values apply only within each year, and the spread is largely, though not entirely, the result of variability in inflows to the hydro lakes. So it's important to note that you cannot form a 25th percentile price path, for example, from the 25th percentile annual prices currently highlighted. Such a series would have a vanishingly small probability. It is straightforward to calculate real prices, in this case also for the annual average prices at Otahuhu in Auckland. Prices are available at any resolution down to day-night, with weighted average monthly prices shown in this chart. Custom reruns of scenarios are easy to produce at finer time resolutions. The assumptions underlying each price path scenario are too numerous to cover in a few slides in this short video, and we use models alongside eMarket to produce the price path. But one model, called iGen, does deserve mention. iGen is the model we use to calculate the build schedule for each of the 16 scenarios. For each new generator that we have on our list of possible projects, we either know or estimate its type of generation, capacity factor, point of connection to the grid, CapEx, OpEx, cost of capital, depreciation, taxation, and so on, and we use these to calculate the project's estimated LCOE, or levelised cost of electricity, which is the constant electricity price required over the project's lifetime to just cover all cash costs and provide a target return on investment. LCOEs are calculated using a discounted cash flow model. iGen then works out a build schedule which builds just enough plant over the scenario so that all new plant makes its target return within a specified time frame, but building one more project causes one or more projects to miss their targets. As projects are large and lumpy, this process is not perfect, so there is also some manual tuning required to get to a final build for each scenario.